the North Carolina Department of Transportation. Well, where's Rusty? I know, that's the reason I said that. Well, that's good for him. He's a Clemson boy. Bike ped agreement for Greenway Trail Extension, Ferguson Park to Marietta Street. Budget amendment number 14-026, $410,000. Presentation, Rusty Bost, Director of Engineering and Services.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. The Catawba Creek branch of the Avon-Catawba Greenway currently ends at Ferguson Park. This leg follows the Catawba Creek under Union Road and then wraps around the municipal golf course and terminates there at the entrance to Ferguson Park. The Greenway plan currently calls for that leg of the Greenway to continue on following up the Catawba Creek branch and into West Gastonia. The city applied for and received a $410,000 construction grant from NCDOT to continue building the next leg of this greenway. I have a map on the Elmo here that kind of shows the area and how we'd get from where the greenway currently ends here at the corner of Ferguson Park, or the entrance to Ferguson Park. It would wrap across Ferguson Park and then across power that is owned by Duke Energy and terminate at the corner of Osceola and Marietta Street. Typically with federally funded transportation projects like this, there's a local match of 20%. In this instance, NCDOT's Bike Ped division is paying that 20%. So the construction cost for this is no cost to the city. But the city does have to pay the out-of-pocket cost for the upfront work, the preliminary engineering work, right-of-way acquisition, design, permitting, things of that nature. The majority of this work we plan to do using in-house capabilities and staff. The agreement has been reviewed by the city's legal department, and staff recommends that council approve this agreement and the corresponding budget amendment, and I'll be glad to try and answer any questions you may have.
Is there any questions of Rusty? Mr. Gallagher.
Rusty, two questions. One, is there any condemnation of property?
We don't anticipate it. We've talked with Duke Energy about this property and done some pretty heavy negotiating. We think we've come to an agreement with them on some of the rules and how that's going to work out. We don't anticipate that.
It looks like it's cutting across someone's backyard, kind of.
That little sliver of property is actually city property. We've already acquired that voluntarily from those residents.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you. The other question is, once this is built, how much does it cost to maintain it?
I spoke with Chuck earlier today. The Parks and Recs folks maintain our greenways. The story to this one is that because of the proximity to Ferguson Park, Chuck's crews will already be there maintaining Ferguson Park, and this is not much of an extension to mow this greenway. I can let Chuck speak to the actual dollars and everything, but we anticipate very little, if any, additional cost just because of the proximity to the existing park. But Chuck, if you want to address that.
Councilman Gallagher, our total greenway budget is somewhere around between $19,000 and $20,000, about $19,600. 10 of that goes to a contract mowing, and that was actually the cheapest way to do that versus hiring folks, and we're actually going to have to purchase a specialty type mower for the greenway itself. This leg and part of the leg that starts at Ferguson and goes down through the golf course, we maintain a portion of that because Ferguson Park is where we stage all of our maintenance out of anyway. As Rusty is correct, we would handle a majority of that regular routine strip mowing and trash, any kind of trash removal from the Ferguson Park. And there's not a whole lot of trees. We would probably be planting some newer trees, so we probably wouldn't have that much problem in that respect as well.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. Thanks, Chuck.
Any other questions?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second? Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rusty. Moving on to item number 9, award of contract for tennis courts reconstruction at Ashbrook High School, Ferguson Park, and Phillips Recreation Center, and approval of interlocal agreement with Gaston County for Ashbrook tennis courts, budget amendment Mr. Chuck Dellinger, Director of Parks and Recreation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor Pro Tem Craig, members of council. That is a mouthful in that budget item. I will say that. This project description, and it does take care of several things, and that's why, and all of it is interrelated, and I guess that's the reasoning for that. It is 2 budget amendments. It is an interlocal agreement with Gaston County for that $90,000 that they're going to provide for the school's match for those tennis courts, and of course the contract with the low bidder. And a brief project description is in order to improve the public health, safety, and welfare of the citizens. There are proposed park improvements and recreation projects that need to be done, including the purchase and installation of scoreboard at Sims Legion Park, a construction of a handicap accessible walkway at Sims Park, and the tennis court renovations at Phillips Center, Ferguson Park, and Ashbrook High School. Of course, those tennis courts at all of those places is a full reconstruction. The bid process was conducted by the city May 25th for all 3 of those facilities. We had 4 bidders. You have the summary sheet in your packet. Carolina Court Works of Charlotte, North Carolina submitted the low bid of $433,737 and a nickel. The projects broken out. The projects broken out are the Ashbrook Tennis Courts, 156,445, Ferguson Park, 156,141, and Phillips Recreation Courts, 121,149. And at Phillips, we're doing a couple of things there. We had some handicap accessible issues there as well that we had to put in that project. And of course, you do have the bid summary attached. That funding for all these is a couple of different ways. We do have some Park District funds that you have the budget amendments there. Park District C funds, which Sims Park is a part of, we're only asking for the transfer of the $38,874 to handle those two projects, and the Park District D, which the Ashbrook tennis courts are in, to be used as a city's match for that. You have in your packet for the $90,000 the county. Actually, they're taking, as I said, they're taking the school's portion. The school was it's a 50-50 match. We utilize that facility through our community schools agreement and have been for years. We originally had a 10-year lease. We originally built those courts there and funded the whole thing. And we actually went through 2 10-year leases with that effect. After the second 10-year lease became up, we reverted back to that community schools agreement, which made it a 50-50 proposition with any type of maintenance or any type of reconstruction. And so the county had some monies that they wanted to give the schools for certain things. This was one of them. And that's set to go before their board on the 22nd of April, and that's sponsored by Commissioner Williams. We do have current budgeted funds to enable us to finish the projects. Our recommendation is to move forward with the approval of the 2 budget amendments, the contract to Carolina Court Works, and of course, the participation from the county and accepting their agreement as well. I'll be glad to answer any questions or.
Oh, John's here.
Just one question, Chuck. For the Sims Legion Park, is that 93 plus the 38? Is that 131 for the scoreboard?
Oh, no, sir. The 93,731 is the total for both the from Park District C and Park District D to cover our portion of the tennis courts and the Sims Park projects. That's what the 93,731 is.
So for the scoreboard, it's 38,000.
The scoreboard is actually 35,374. That includes the installation, and the handicap accessible walkway is going to be $3,500.
When is the scoreboard going to be in place? Is it going to be in place for the opening for the Grizzlies?
Absolutely. We were promised it would be in this week for our Easter baseball tournament that starts Friday. The scoreboard is ready, but we do have a message center with it, and it's out of the scoreboard company's hands, and they wanted to do an extra check, so it's not coming in until next week to be put up. So, but it will be in plenty of time for the American Legion and the Grizzlies season.
Excellent, thank you.
All right, any other comments, questions? Yeah.
Chuck-
Okay, go ahead.
Chuck, talk to us a little bit about these funds, these Park District C and D funds, okay? These are the funds that come as payment in lieu. Is that not correct?
Yes, sir, they are. They're the funds that are appropriated as developers do build out homes in multi-home areas. There is that approved formula that comes in that you have a certain amount per lot. It depends on the number of the amount the lot is appraised for, and I'm not a math genius. You all know I deal in Jethro math with those, but it deals with the 1/35 of an acre with the appraised value to come up with what a per lot cost would be. That's deemed that goes to Parks and Recreation, and it is for either new projects or existing. It cannot go for maintenance, but it is for new projects or existing capital type projects.
So in this case, if we did not have these funds, where would the funds come from for this scoreboard and for these tennis courts?
At this particular time, we have all of our budgeted funds are competing with several issues. We've got a couple of things that are not, we did not budget for. We've got a problem with some air handling at Irwin Pool underneath there, and also with some structural problems that we reported to this council several months ago at Irwin Pool as well. The bids for that are going to be in next week. That's a competing project. Also in the mix is this council let us budget for the floor at Phillips Center, which is here again all of these are competing, and it's if that doesn't happen, then one of the other things are not going to be able to happen as well. So if one doesn't work.
So I guess it's safe to say that these funds that we receive through the developers are actually pretty important to these types of projects.
Yes, sir, absolutely. To our budgeting, they are. You would hope that in times where we are building a lot of there is a lot of building going on that you could pool that money in an area, and hopefully in the future, if you look at our park districting and Park District A, we only really have one park, city park in there, which is T. Jeffers, but there's a whole vast amount of land in that area, and in the future, building could build out, and you would possibly fund a total park out of that.
So I just kind of make the point when we're talking about task forces that are talking about doing away with that source of revenue for the city, we better be careful if we are going to consider that, because these kinds of projects might not get done otherwise.
Or you could always put in a user fee for the people that actually use the parks and then pay for it that way.
We do have user fees,
Not on everything.
so I'll let you bring that up for
Just
motion.
Point for point there, Doctor.
So,
Yes, ma'am.
Just one question. The county's $90,000,
Yes, ma'am.
is that going to be one lump sum to the city, or is it going to be over a period of time?
It would be one check to the city as
Okay.
what we've been told by Assistant County Manager and the Finance Director for the county.
Okay. I do have another question. Carolina Court Works,
Yes, ma'am.
have they done business with the city of Gastonia before?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great, thanks.
Mr. Kimball, did you ask a question? I'm sorry.
Thank you, Your Honor. Chuck, we sort of got to the bottom of some of this, but the last question I have, with the advances in technology and materials, what do we expect the life expectancy of the tennis courts to be once they're redone?
Normally, Councilman Kimball, you would go back in every 5 to 6 years with a top coat of acrylic and be able to seal them. That's been our point with our tennis courts for several years now. What we would like to have the ability to do is cut down the numbers. We used to have over 60 tennis courts in our fleet that we were trying to maintain, and you just don't have the money to maintain those. What we would like to do is get down to a certain number where every 4 or 5 years it's only costing us $10,000 to $15,000 to do that general type maintenance, which will make those courts last that 20 to 25 years, and you're not having to do the tear out. But now, in saying that, these courts, it's been over 20 years since we've done that anyway, but they really haven't been playable in the last 10 years, to be honest, for anything other than recreational play. So that you can get 20 to 25 years, you can actually get 30 years, but you really need to every 5th or 6th year is to put that top coat, acrylic top coat on that 8 set of courts, and that's usually around a couple $1,000s a court. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any other questions?
Nope.
Sure. Okay. Is there a motion?
I make a motion that we accept the staff's recommendations.
Second.
Second motion. Okay, discussion, questions? All in favor? Okay. Opposed? All right, thank you, sir. Item 10, Mr. Pearsall, is Central City Revitalization and Housing Committee meeting report, which is our number 10.
It is number 10, yes, sir. We can really make this pretty quick. Actually, in the presentations earlier, you heard Myra mention what her staff does, and one of the things that was presented to us at the committee report was a review of the 2014-2015 annual action plan, and they were there to answer some basic questions. They have to do some public comment periods, and so they are still in that, so they don't have a full report to bring back to us yet. They're going to do that at the next committee meeting. You do have some information about the budget that they are putting forth to the public in your packet if you want to review that. But we just voted 3-0 to recommend approval of the 2014-2015 annual action plan, contingent upon any changes that would be submitted during the public comment period. So it's kind of just symbolic, because they're going to have to bring that again, and then we'll have to approve it with the public input. So if I'm not mistaken, actually, we don't need a vote from the council at this time, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes,
So
sir.
that's really just information in your packet on what they're doing with the public input period. And then the only other item we had on the agenda for that particular night was an ideal grant application. It was for, his name is Nguyen, and he had an application for a grant for upfit and facade improvements to his building. It's at 116 South Street. That's in the bottom level of the side section of the commercial building. It faces right towards City Hall over that way. The bookstore used to be in there. But he has put quite a bit of money into this structure. We were looking at his numbers. I think it's somewhere, and Rachel, correct me if I'm wrong, it's around $30,000 he's put into the interior and so forth of this building. And I don't know if anybody's had a chance to go by, but he's done a really, really good job. But the committee voted 3-0 to recommend to the full council provide an ideal grant in the amount of $3,400 for assistance with the interior and exterior upfit and improvements as described, and there's more in your packet. But I would make that in a motion that the full council go ahead and approve that $3,400.
Second.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
And that's the end of my report. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, city attorney's report, Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The hour's late, but I would be remiss if I didn't thank each of you individually and as a body for your many expressions of sympathy to both me and my wife during the past 6 months. It's been past 3 months. It's been a very difficult time, but thank you. And I want to thank my coworkers for their support, and especially the Assistant City Attorney, Melissa McGee, for stepping in while I was gone. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you very much. And of course, we all still think about it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. City Manager's report, Mr. Mott.
Just two things. First of all, this Friday, the administrative offices in the city will be closed for the Easter holiday. Some folks celebrated Monday and Friday, but the administrative office will be closed. A lot of our other facilities. Okay. A lot of our other facilities will be open, of course, but the administrative offices are closed. And then the only other thing is we'll put on next council's agenda consideration as to whether or not the council wants to suspend the first meeting in July. We normally do that, but we need to decide that for advertising and for other folks that are trying to line up business for and our first meeting in July actually falls on the 1st. So we'll put that on the agenda for consideration. Thank you.
All right. City Council report, Ms. Craig.
No report.
Back to you. Mr. Pearsall.
No report.
Gallagher.
Got several things. One, got this in the mail. City Good Neighbor program. It's excellent. You know, I mean, I contribute to it, you know, for people for heat and that type of thing. The one thing I like to see is how many citizens did we help this year compared to last year, and how much money was collected compared to last year? Was it up or down? This is great to have people sign up for it, but I've never seen anything out there that showed, you know, did we help anybody? That's all. Okay. The other thing is the Gaston County Art Guild. They're having an item on a reception coming up April 17th. I just want to see if we can get that on the bulletin board out there by the conference center. Well, I think someone, I'll pass it to Ted, ask him to get them on there to get that done.
Are you for real?
Huh? They don't run the conference center, right? I'll have to talk to Bill Owens. All right. The other thing is a friend of mine is going through bone marrow looking for a donor for bone marrow, Tom Van Syak. And the mayor contacted him and put it on Facebook and stuff, and a lot of people came out to the college and also to Parkwood. And I just wanted to say thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, for recognizing that. It was really kind of you, really. I did run for the money on Saturday. I ran for Shining Hope Farms, collected a lot of money. Went to the Belmont bike race, slapped backs and shook hands over there, people. And Sunday night, went to North Gaston Church of God. They're having an Easter play coming Saturday. It's up in Dallas. Anybody wants to go there, it's really nice on Dallas-Cherryville Highway. And also thank you to the staff for Rusty for putting that bus stop on Marietta Street. It's a really good kudos. Thank you, buddy. And let me see. May 8th, Electricities is coming. And they'll be here at 6 o'clock at the conference center. But at 5 o'clock, they're going to be here to talk about the rate increase with the tax going up to 7% and the rates that we have currently and what's going to take place with those. But Ed, correct me if I'm wrong. In the past, we have never added on to any of the electrical rates. This council has never added on to any electrical rates. We've always passed them through to our customers without tagging on any additional percentage or a flat rate fee. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's correct. We've just simply passed on the cost to us in the last few years and not marked it up.
Okay. And last is, this is what, this is the spreadsheet I got from Monroe telling me about how we are not keeping up our end of the bargain for electricity rates. They're saying, according to the spreadsheet here, they're saying that we should be paying power costs of $66 million, and we're only paying $59 million. But the odd thing about this is that we contributed 17% of ownership to the plan itself. So I don't think that's being taken into consideration here. So just for informational purposes. Go ahead, you want?
The staff would be happy to brief the council at the next council meeting about this particular spreadsheet and also some of the other issues that pertain to the wholesale costs and what's fair for each of the participating municipalities.
Okay.
And that's it. Thank you,
That's
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, I just have one thing. I want to extend a heartfelt thanks to our fire service. We sustained a small house fire at our home on March 22nd, and at that time we had members of Ladder 4 and Engine 4 A shift come out. Battalion Chief Cynthia Kearney headed the group, Captain Eric Curtis, Engineer Carl Mueller, Firefighter Mike Huss, and Firefighter Deshaun Wilson from Ladder 4, and from Engine 4 was Acting Captain Rodney Thompson, Engineer Eric Weaver, Firefighter Barry Walsberger. But we got home, the fire was put out, but fortunately there wasn't extensive damage done. They did a wonderful job. They were very professional. They went to great lengths to make sure we didn't sustain an electrical fire after this had occurred, and a couple folks from GEMS came out too. I'm sorry I don't have their names, but everyone was first class, did an excellent job. I don't think many of them knew that I was the city councilman who resided there, and that was just fine. But I just want to, again, thank them all for the great job they did, and just want to let the citizens of Gastonia know that you are in very good hands when it comes to our public safety and fire departments. Thank you.
Mr. Kimball?
Thank you, Your Honor. Actually, Flip, if I could cue you real quick. I just wanted a new program, met with the manager at the local Golden Corral. This is an agency-wide throughout all their stores. It's free summer camp for the children of wounded, disabled, and fallen military members. All you have to do is get the child there, and everything's taken care of. And the reason I had that put on there, I don't know, we don't have really the clarity, but on the bottom there is the website to go on to sign up a person, or you can forward that to friend, family, loved one, someone we know that's a wounded warrior, disabled. They get a free week of camp on Golden Corral. I think it's a really stand-up program, and I thought it was real good. Secondly, Ed, real quickly, and if you want to I'll push this back to another week. I had a question. At the last major storm that we had a number of problems that you reported with a vendor where we lost a number of phone lines. I believe that vendor may have been Windstream. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Correct.
And I requested that we conduct fact-finding to see if we had, what are we doing with that?
We can give you a full report at the next council meeting, but talking to our IT director, Todd, they have assured us that that will never happen again. We have taken a look at what our options are about breaking the contract that we have with them, and that's complicated, and also whether there are any other firms that we might be able to use. But we can give you a full report at the next council meeting.
Thank you very much. Last item for council. A couple minor ABC items. There are new registers have been installed in Dallas and West Gastonia after they were installed on Cox Road. They're functioning fine, no problems. And secondly, 2 of the stores, see me privately if you'd like to know which ones, underwent PCI compliance, and both of the stores passed flying colors. And that has to do with some of the issues that happened earlier in other parts of the state where, unfortunately, credit card numbers, debit card numbers were kited and caused a big problem. So we're in pretty good shape there. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. In closing, I went to the 7:30 in the morning, believe it or not. I was at Run for the Money just to welcome everyone, not to run, but for the city. And lastly, I also went over and sat and watched the swearing in of Dan Clodfelter in Charlotte, and he and I were served together. And he went in 99, and I went in 99, but he was still there and so, in Raleigh. But he was in the Senate, and I was in the House. But he's a very, very smart fella. Grew up in Thomasville, and actually the city manager was telling me what a good city manager we had. I didn't know that. He told Carty. But and certainly I was proud to hear that. Anything else for the good of the cause? I'm sorry it went so long. This is one of our this is 4 hours tonight, and I apologize, but we sort of expected it. And so I move we adjourn. Let's go home.